Chris Farfoy.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It's a pleasure to be able to take a call on a third reading of the Administration of Community Sentences and Orders Bill. It is a bill that Labor continues to support. And as the Minister did in her contribution to this debate, I'd also like to thank other members of the Law and Order Select Committee for the way in which we work together. Unfortunately, I'm no longer a member of the Law and Order Select Committee, but this is definitely one of the pieces of legislation and one of the times where we work very constructively together from across the Parliament to make sure that this bill was a good bill and was improved at the Select Committee stage. It was a bill that we did make some changes to, and I agree with the Minister that we made some very sensible changes to the bill. And I'd also like to thank those officials and members of the Corrections Department who came along and gave us some very good, constructive and practical submissions to the bill, so we as members of Parliament could understand some of the technical realities of what the bill, the changes in the bill contained. Mr Speaker, this, as the Minister said, this piece of legislation aims to make changes to the barriers to effective management of home detention and community-based sentences, electronic monitoring and parole and extended supervision orders. And on this side of the House, we certainly think that in terms of fiscal and rehabilitative purposes, that we should be looking at the use of more home detention when it is suitable. Now, let me be clear, there certainly will be occasions when someone is not suitable to be given a community-based sentence. They would have committed some of the worst crimes, and those people should, as they are now, be put into protective custody to make sure that they are not at large and to make sure that the public is safe from any dangers that they may pose. But we believe that we should look at more use of community-based sentences in the future to make sure that we can also fiscally afford to make sure that we punish people and rehabilitate them, but also to use that word rehabilitate to make sure that it is effective. Mr Speaker, can I just draw on one submission made by the Salvation Army to the Select Committee where it quoted some Ministry of Justice figures that said those figures that 23% of those on home detention in 2009 were reconvicted in the following 12 months, but conversely 52.6% of those who served a custodial sentence in 2009 were reconvicted in the following 12 months. They went on to say that over that period, the recidivism rates in New Zealand had remained largely the same. So, Mr Speaker, we have the Salvation Army coming to us and telling us that some of the figures from the Ministry of Justice have shown that those given community sentences, those who are given home detention, their recidivism rate is, I think, at least half that of those who are given who are given a custodial sentence. So, Mr Speaker, there is hard evidence that that community-based sentences are very effective at making sure those who have been given a sentence don't go out and re-offend. And I think most parliamentarians, or all parliamentarians, would agree that it's certainly one of the things that we want to get out of the Sentencing and Corrections Department, to make sure that there are fewer victims and that there is less re-offending. Mr Speaker, the Deputy Prime Minister, Bill English, himself has said that prisons are a moral and fiscal failure, and I think it's important that corrections take an evidence-based approach to what works when it comes to the rehabilitation of prisoners. And I've already mentioned those figures that the Salvation Army dug out for us at that Select Committee. And I'd like to commend, actually, the Deputy Prime Minister for making that comment, because he knows that we can't continue to spend at the rate we do with corrections, but also we can't keep locking people up and, as those figures have shown, have them come back and re-offend at a rate of 52.6%, those Ministry of Justice figures show in 2009. So we have to we might have to find a way to make sure that those people who we are giving sentences are re-offending less, and also we have to make sure we can find a way that we can make the correction system much more efficient in terms of the money that we are putting into it. Mr Speaker, I do want to, as the Minister said, talk about some specifics in the bill that some people that we on the Select Committee thought were good improvements. And that is around changing, or being able to convert a proportion of a community sentence into training. And I think on this side of the House, there's certainly something we want to make sure there is an option for those people who are both either serving a community sentence or who are in prisons themselves. And in the Act, we looked at this bill provides that a probation service may direct that up to 20% of the community work sentence of at least 80 hours be spent training in basic work and living skills. I don't think anyone on this side of the House will argue with that, that you can convert some of that time that you're spending on a community-based sentence into training to be able to prepare those people who are on that sentence for time when they're not forced to stay in their residence that they have been forced to because of the sentence that they have been given. So I think that's certainly one good thing that's within this bill that will help those who are serving community sentences to get back on the straight and narrow. And as I've said, and I kind of am quoting this repeatedly, but it does show that those Ministry of Justice figures show there is less reoffending by those who are on community-based sentences, and hopefully some of that training that's made available to them by able to convert that time will be able to help augment that and make the rehabilitation rate much better and the reoffending rate much better as well. Mr Speaker, I just wanted to finish off on this by saying that we do on this side want to make sure that there is an evidence-based correction system. We do believe that there should be much more of a move towards community sentences. We believe that those community sentences for those who are for the appropriate people who are given those sentences will lead to less reoffending. Those Ministry of Justice figures have stated that, and I think everyone in New Zealand would want to make sure that while we manage the risk of community-based sentences, if we can get less reoffending and less victims, that is what everybody wants. Once again, thanks to those officials who came and gave submissions to the Select Committee. I think one of the more interesting submissions to the committee was around some geometry, the difference between a circle and a square in terms of the technology that monitors those people who are on electronic monitoring and who can technically be outside of their residence where they are meant to be, but still inside the digital or the electronic monitoring that is there. So this bill aims to change up, just to make sure that those technicalities are looked after, and certainly we hope that those who are supposed to be where they are will continue to be where they are with the technical changes in this piece of legislation. So thanks again, once again, thanks to those officials. We are very happy to continue to support this bill.
I call Jackie Dean.
Thank you very